Welcome back, Budgeteers. Coach Nino Villa here, and today I have with me my business partner and co-founder of New Money Habits, Maria Casillas. Hey, Maria.
Hi, Nino.
It's been a while. How are you?
It has been a while. I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. I think the schedules just kind of got crazy and a little bit busy, but I'm very excited to have you back. Today, let's talk about what's on the docket. So, the topic of the day is putting food on the table. It's about how do we make a plan that actually works for grocery shopping and that sort of thing. And I know I'm super practical when it comes to this, but I also know that there are plenty of things that kind of get in the way of being practical, and we have to be. So we also have to be mindful. We have to be mindful of what are those things that kind of drive how we ultimately behave when it comes to feeding our family. So, wanted to talk a little bit about that from both of those perspectives, a little bit of practicality, but a lot of mindfulness.
A lot of reality. Well,
Right.
yeah. Well, this is kind of right up my alley, not because of any of the mindfulness stuff, but because I'm a mom. I'm a mom and a wife, and I'm the one who's mostly in charge of getting the food on the table. So that is definitely something that I didn't know before I joined you today, that that's what we'd be talking about. So I don't have anything specifically prepared for it, but I'm here for the conversation because it's my everyday life.
Hey there, budgeteers. The new year is here, and you know what that means. It's time for fresh starts and new habits. If one of your goals is to get better with your money, New Money Habits has exactly what you need to kick things off right: the Payday Power Planner. This isn't just any budget tool. The Payday Power Planner is designed to work with your pay periods, not just the calendar month. Why does that matter? Because it helps you to see exactly when your money is coming in and going out. No surprises, no guesswork. With the Payday Power Planner, you'll know if you're working with a surplus or facing a deficit, so you can make informed decisions about your money. It's not just a plan, it's the clarity and control you've been looking for to start the new year strong. Make this the year you finally build new habits for financial freedom. Grab your free Payday Power Planner from New Money Habits today and take the first step toward a better financial future. Visit newmoneyhabits.com now, because this year it's time for a better plan for your money. So let's start the conversation with a little bit of the practical that leads into the reality. So when I sit down with clients, it is, hey, we are going to carve out part of your income for this pay period to put food on the table. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
like to try to be as realistic as possible. And what I mean by that is, if eating out is part of how you feed your family, well, then we're just going to make a plan for it. We're going to put some guardrails in place. We're going to try to keep it within reason, that sort of thing. But what we're not going to do is just some blanketed, nope, you have this small little budget so that you go to the grocery store and you prepare every meal because that's going to be the most cost effective.
Yeah.
No, I've graduated from that some time ago. That was a part of my routine
Mm.
once upon a time. But now it's, hey, in this pay period, and typically it's pretty consistent pay period to pay period. I do encourage clients to manage this particular category in cash wherever possible, but they might have two separate lines under the category called putting food on the table, and one might be like grocery shopping,
Mm-hmm.
and the other might be eating out. And then we allocate some dollars within reason to going to the grocery store and to going out. So that's kind of the practical side of it. But
Mm-hmm.
when the plan meets reality, it doesn't always go that way.
Well, I mean, so I don't disagree with that. I do think, though, that the more realistic you are in the planning and putting those guardrails up, even reality, it's not quite as unpredictable as it would have been had you continued to do what you used to do, per your own admission there, which is to just say, well, we're not going to do that at all. And so because it's not ideal, right? And so we're just going to, not do anything. that's when reality, and I'm using air quotes for those of you who are just listening, that's when reality kicks in because it we didn't take reality into account. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to add one more line to your practical piece there, and that is when I'm working with people, we have three lines on the putting food on the table, and you're nodding because you know exactly where I'm going with this, I'm sure. But it is grocery shopping. And then we have dining out for convenience and dining out for connection. And the reason that I built that in is because we actually it's reality. And so there's this idea that, well, I'm only going to go out so that I can, enjoy some time with my family, or the opposite side, which I'm only going to go out if I have to, like if it's, out of convenience. And what we want to do is recognize that both of those things are okay, and both of those things, there's a place for each of them. And if we build that into our plan, then when reality hits and, you've got this on Thursday night and you've got this on Friday, and you can't find a way to actually make dinner that night, it's like, okay, this I'm actually doing for convenience. And I know that it's a last minute thing. But you also are okay to plan some of that dining out for connection, whether that's a date night with your spouse. It could be, just one-on-one time between parent and child. It could be an entire family thing that you do every month. So it's just, it kind of, it builds in that connection for people, and then they don't feel guilty when they actually go and do that thing. So that's the other thing I'll add to your practicality first.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm somebody who, I guess I subscribe to the keep it super simple method, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
everything is so simple that sometimes it's too simple, right? So
Yeah.
once upon a time, there was one line under putting food on the table. And it was
Mm-hmm.
basically grocery shopping, right? Because you're going to
Mm-hmm.
go to this
Mm-hmm.
grocery store, you're going to buy the ingredients, and you're going to just prepare every meal. But what I really appreciate about your approach is not only are we taking into account the reality, but now we're being more thoughtful through the process.
Yeah.
Um,
It adds an intentionality to it. And I will say that in real life, that plan, so a lot of the times when, even in my own personal budget, I don't separate out the connection and the convenience in terms of like different envelopes or anything like that. I line item them so that they're in my mind. And it creates that intentionality where it's like, I want to make sure that I do, unless it's a date night, if it's just a full on family thing, when we go out, we don't have any cell phones on the table. Like, we make sure that we're engaging with each other. It is an intentional connection activity for us. That's different than, hey babe, can you swing by so and so and bring some food home for us just because it was, a late night or whatever. That those are two different things. But I put them on the budget, I line them out so that we think about it. But then when I have the money for it, that is all in just one spot, to be honest. I don't use envelopes for that anymore. But I do have a very specific account for our dining dollars and for our grocery budget. So
so, just for clarification,
yeah.
are all three of those things in one, or are the two dining out categories in one?
Just the two dining out categories.
Okay.
So each month, and I don't know how how in the weeds you want to go with this one, but I'll just tell you for our personal one, each month we had a specific amount taken out of my husband's paycheck and put directly into a separate account. It's a saving, and not a savings account. It's a checking account that gives you cash back when you use that debit card. And so it was just like, if we're going to use this anyway, might as well use a little bit of the cash back and send it over to savings. And so that was the reason for doing that. We decided on $1,200 a month for our entire dining out budget. We have a family of six. And so he gets paid twice a month. So each pay period, he sends $600 directly to that one account. And then out of that, each pay period, we have 150 that has been set aside for dining out, whether that be for convenience and or for connection. So that 150 automatically gets put into a savings account there that literally says Casillas dining dollars. And so at any given time, we can look at that and see, do we have the money for this? And if we do, we can go and transfer that immediately to the checking account and then use it. And if we don't, then we just figure out what we're going to eat at home instead.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I appreciate the weeds. I appreciate, anytime that we can provide like thorough examples of what does this actually look like. As you brought up the dollars, it made me start thinking about, some of the guidelines that I put in place with clients, because a lot of times when they first come to us, while they can kind of look backwards and tell you what they have been spending, they don't have any direction on what they should be spending.
Mm.
How much is enough and how much is too much, and
Mm-hmm.
what is that range? And so as you started to put dollars to it, and then you also shared the size of your family, it reminded me that when I sit down with a client nowadays, it's, hey, I want you to consider $200 to $250 per person per month
Mm-hmm.
for your putting food on the table budget. And so for a family of four like mine, we're closer to the 250. So we're planning $1,000 in a month for putting food on the table, because with prices that the way they are, but you also have to take into account the size of your family. A
Mm-hmm.
single person shouldn't be necessarily spending $1,000 a month to feed themselves the way a family of four would be. And a family of four can't only feed themselves on $200 a month unless you are some crazy, insane, awesome couponer type person who gets just like radically awesome deals.
Which I did, by the way, back in the day. That was our grocery budget. It was about $200 to $250 a month, and it was on a family with a family of four, so two adults and two young kids. But yeah, I mean, and then when my husband lost his job and we were eligible for food stamps at the time, which was the first time that we had ever been eligible for anything like that, I literally got mad because because they gave us like $675 or something like that. I don't remember what it was. It was a lot. It felt like a
Significantly
lot.
more than what you were
Maybe,
budgeting.
yeah, it was significantly more than what we had. And I was like, oh, I've been doing this on this little all this time. And so I thought, man, like they must make you like use it all in the month because they must think that you need it. And then I found out, no, that's actually not true either. You can actually, just get it and then use it for as long as you want. And long story short, my husband was blessed with a job like about a month after we were eligible. It was about 3 months after he got laid off. But so then I think he was getting a job like on, I want to say February 2nd, and they gave us the new card on on January 31st or something. So I called them to say, how do I give you this money back? They laughed at me. They're like, you don't give the money back, ma'am. They said, you need to use it. I said,
Wow.
okay, well, then does this have to be used by February 28th? And they said, absolutely not. You can stretch that as long as you want to. And that ended up being something where my understanding of how this whole budget thing works super super helpful, because we didn't have any health insurance, so we had to pay for that. So this particular amount of money, I was able to stretch that over 3-4 months, and we could use our regular income that my husband was getting in order to just help the family do what we needed to do because he had taken such a pay cut. So yeah, I mean, it was crazy, but that was, gosh, now probably 15 years ago. So yeah, I would, to have anybody at four, a family of four do that on $250 now would be, like you said, pretty insane. But 10-15 years ago, it was.
Hey there, budgeteers. Good news can only be good news if there's bad news. So, what's the bad news? The bad news is you and I have a deadly disease called sin, and this disease causes us to rebel and disobey God. See, God is holy, righteous, and just, and He cannot be in the presence of sin. So this horrible disease of ours separates us from the God who created us. And the bad news gets worse. There isn't anything you or I can do to make ourselves right with God. We are dead in our sins and on our way to an eternity separated from God. But that's not God's will for us. See, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. God did what only God could do. He made a way for us to be reconciled to Him through Jesus Christ. Jesus came into the world to save sinners like you and me. While we were still sinners, storing up God's anger against us for our rebellion and disobedience, Christ died for us. Jesus took the punishment that you and I deserve and have earned. Jesus is the substitute for your punishment and mine. Now, isn't that some good news? The word gospel means good news. The gospel of Jesus Christ is that you and I broke God's law and Jesus paid the fine. When we place our faith and trust in Jesus, we get to experience God's grace and mercy. Our gratitude should turn us from our rebellious and disobedient sin toward God, seeking after Him and His righteousness. When we do, God gives us a new heart and a new mind. Praise God for His goodness, and remember, God loves, humans sin, Jesus saves. So I'm now curious too, since you had more to buy groceries with, did you find that shortly after your husband was back to work and whatnot, and now you weren't getting the help anymore, did you see the spend increase because of that kind of aha moment of, wow, I've been doing it on 200 to 250, but they were willing to give me 600?
I did not see an increase. And the reason I did not see an increase, there probably is twofold. Remember, I mentioned that I thought you had to use it all in the month. Otherwise, why would they give it to you?
Mm-hmm.
So I very strategically figured out how to buy things in that month of January that I might not have bought before, or just bought in more quantity than I would have been able to afford before. So meats, for example, we got a deep freezer, just a little miniature one, which we still have 15 years later, this little mini deep freezer, and I would get some meat and I would just like deep freeze that, figuring that way when we didn't have any of this extra help, then I'd be able to use that meat later. And so that helped to stretch it out a little bit. So that's one reason that we probably didn't need to have an increase. But the other reason, is we just didn't have the money. I mean, we were getting that help from the government, but once that
Mm-hmm.
was gone after that month, we went right back to having the one income that, and it was a excuse me, like I said, a slightly less income than he had been brought on before, because when he got this new job, it was definitely a blessing, but they created the job for him. It was a small mom pop shop, and they created this job, so they didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of the resources to give him as much as he was worth. They ended up building that up over time, but during that first few years, he got paid very little for what he did, and so I couldn't, regardless of what I saw was possible. We didn't have that in our income, so we stuck to the 200 and some dollars.
Okay.
So it was more of a contentment than a like, oh, I could have seen that. So anyway.
Yeah. And that's why I had asked, is because so often we see um, kind of lifestyle creep, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whenever resources change, as we are delivering our financial literacy course, currently, I just had this conversation about how so many times we think, if I just made more money, then I wouldn't have the money issues that I have.
Right.
But the problem is not the dollars and the cents. It's usually how we manage those dollars that really gets us. So, um, but as I'm thinking about it, we started off talking about putting in some guardrails. You shared the budget that you have. I said, hey, when we are guiding people, we kind of started off with a range of $200 and $250 per person per month. For me, that's kind of all in, feeding the family, regardless of what kind of categories you have, whether it's grocery store, dining out for convenience, or dining out for connection. I want to talk a little bit about what gets in the way. Like, so we put in these guardrails, we have the best of intentions, we have this great plan. What gets in the way of executing the plan as we planned it? Hey there, budgeteers. It's a brand new year, and that means it's time for new habits, starting with your money. Take charge of your finances in 2025 with New Money Habits Financial Coaching. This isn't your typical financial advice. New Money Habits is all about giving you the knowledge, tools, and support to make confident money moves and build a rock solid financial foundation. Here's the deal: we're offering a free discovery session to kick off your journey to financial freedom. That's right, no strings attached. In this session, one of our expert coaches will help you to identify your financial goals and create a better plan for your money. We'll help you master your money mindset, sharpen your money management skills, and keep you accountable every step of the way. Make 2025 the year you say goodbye to financial stress and hello to the freedom you've been dreaming about. Schedule your free discovery session today and start creating the new money habits you need to achieve financial freedom.
Well, I think sometimes ideals get in the way of this. So, what I mean by that is, if you are if you follow any certain blogs, or if you are into some sort of TikTok trend or something, you might hear that you want to plan your whole week and meal prep and all of that, and that's not a bad idea. But a lot of times when people do that, they think, okay, I'm going to meal prep and I'm going to prep all of these things, and they then go out and buy all of these ingredients that they didn't have at home, and they try to create all these different meals. And that sounds like they're doing a really good thing. But what they're forgetting is that they had a bunch of stuff that they already paid for that was in their pantry, or that was in their refrigerator, or in their deep freezer if they have one like I do. And then there's all of this. I'm reaching for these ideals. I want to do this particular meal and do this thing, and then they end up overspending because that particular thing wasn't on sale this week, but it was part of this recipe, and so I need to get it. And so I think that is one way that it definitely can go off of track, because we have this idea of what we're trying to achieve.
Mm, I appreciate that because I know Christina, my wife, does kind of look ahead and say, asks herself, what are the meals, what are the activities throughout the week? What meals can I make where there's going to be leftovers, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so to your point, if it's just kind of an inspiration of something completely new, different, well, we might not have the ingredients in the house to do that. And so one of the things she does is she kind of shops the pantries first, and what do I have? What might I just need a little bit of something to be able to make a meal out of, rather than completely different ingredients that we don't have anything in the house for yet. So,
Right.
for instance, if like something as simple as uh, spaghetti and meatballs, right? Like if it's like, oh, well, we already have pasta and we already have sauce and we already have those things. Well, now all we need is the meat.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like, hey, spaghetti and meatballs, but I don't have pasta or tomato sauce or the meat, now I got to get all of that stuff in order to be able to make it. So
Mm-hmm.
shop the pantry first, and,
Yep.
and kind of meal prep and meal plan based off of, oh, okay, I have some things here that are going to contribute to the meal rather than just from scratch.
And then you fill in the gaps. Yeah. I think the other thing too is I like to shop the ads. I know back in the day when we were living on that $200 budget, it wasn't always the healthiest $200 budget, to be totally transparent.
Mm,
We do shop a lot healthier now. But even so, like, and I share that piece because the ads themselves, oftentimes they're riddled with a bunch of unhealthy food. And so it was easy to shop the ads and add stuff to the pantry when it was a little bit more unhealthy. Now, if you're looking more for like fresh things, fruits and vegetables and milks and cheeses and the things that are more um, perishable, then it does change that a little bit. However, I still shop the ads, and it is funny because my kids, like if they have a certain fruit that they like, they'll ask me, how come we don't have bananas is not a good example because those are never really on sale. But how come we don't have any peaches, this week? Oh, well, that wasn't in the ad this week. So here we get watermelon this week. Like this is the fruit
Right.
of the week. And I guess it does a couple things. It gives a little bit of variety to them, where they would most likely be stuck in one thing. It actually gives them something new to choose from. But it also just keeps me a little bit more grounded. Like it's like, okay, this is what is affordable. And to say that, I mean, we are on a we're on a budget, but we're not on a shoestring budget. And
Right.
so I don't say these things because, we have to, but it still sounds like a prudent decision to buy the things that are affordable. So I start to, we have two grocery stores out here, as I know our listeners are everywhere. But there are two main ones out here that have ads that come to my house, three actually. But two of them you can just order and pick up. And so that's what I do. I make sure that the order is at least the $35 minimum for it to be free. And it's just cracks. Safeway is one of the ones that I do this with. And it cracks me up because like it'll say your order is $170, but you saved, $140. And so your thing is $35. It's funny. I always like to try to hit at least the 50% savings mark. But I wonder sometimes I feel guilty. I'm like, I wonder if they're like, this girl only shops the ads and then, she leaves. And I'm like, that's all I need from you right now is the stuff that's on the ads. So I do that from the two stores and I make sure that I work in, since I'm driving all over anyway, I work in the pickup time around the time I'm going to be driving past that place so that I'm not wasting my time going into the store. This is a little bit iffy sometimes with the produce. I will say that sometimes people do not pick your produce the way that you want to have it picked. But I will also say that when I get home, if it's really bad produce, I let them know, and then they give me my money back. So
Yep.
there's that piece too. And so I have learned just to do that a lot more often, not only for the cost convenience, but actually for the convenience of not having to go in and I spend all my time doing all of that. So it saves me the gas and the time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think there's a different behavior on the app as well. So I have this really bad habit of letting Costco tell me what I want.
Yeah.
So I go in. You've heard people talk about this, right? It's usually
Yep.
Target, right? Like I let
Yep.
Target tell me what I want, and so I go in and I have the best of intentions, and it's like I'm here for these three things. Oh, except that looks really good, and that's on sale, and whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
So when Christina does shop the on the app, just like you do, I think there's more discipline where it's like I'm really like I'm just here clicking on the things I know I need, or like she's scanning in the house, like I know I need to refill the milk, so just scan it and adds it to the thing, and it's just that idea of I'm only here for the things I'm here for
Mhm.
is easier. We find it easier on the app, because one of the things that gets in our way is Nino allowing Costco to tell me what I want. Um,
Well, to that point, and I'm not exempt from that whole thing either. I same thing at Costco. I have found that if you really are just there for three things, unless one of those things is a heavy case of water, if you don't bring a cart
cart.
in, you're actually much more likely to walk out without having overspent. But I will also say this when it comes to the different sales things, especially if it's something that is not perishable, or if it's perishable but it can be frozen, that works too. That's when I stock up on something. So, for example, one of our favorite pasta sauces is at Costco, but it's so not cheap, and I'm okay paying a little bit of extra money for something that I really like. But I like it when it's on sale, and so they always have whenever it's on sale. It's like every I don't know 3-4 months or something I will buy like 11 of these things that they're double, right? So I have like 22
Mm-hmm.
jars of sauce sitting in my house. And my husband's like, do you really need that much sauce? I said, nope, not right now, but I won't need it again until it's on sale again. And so that's how I buy that. But I was going to say that that's sometimes another way that can really mess up someone's budget. So if they have
Mm-hmm.
$1,200 put aside, and then they see, pasta sauce and they want to buy 11 of them, that could be like $50 right there. And they're like, oh, but I didn't mean to spend that $50 during that time.
Right.
And so if you know that this is how you operate, then you almost want to make sure that that is included. So if you're saying $1,200 a month, you might be able to spend $50 on pasta sauce, but you're not going to be able to stock up on meat this month. And so hopefully you had stocked up on that meat a month before or something like that. So it does kind of take into account some planning, but also like a revolving door. And so it is a way to save some money, but it's also a way that can totally blow your budget if you are not intentional about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the name of the game. The name of the game is intentionality. Being realistic about the size of your family, how much money is needed to just even get started. And if you're looking for an easy way to kind of come up with some guidelines, we offer a food number calculator. It helps you to just determine how much of your budget should be set aside for putting food on the table. And at least it starts the process of putting in some guardrails, putting in some guidelines. Too often when I sit down with clients for the first time, they're not spending enough on food.
Mm-hmm.
It is the one place where they're cutting back the absolute most. It's an afterthought. So what I've noticed too often is somebody will sit down, write out their income, start listing their expenses, and what they're listing is all of their bills, right? Their mortgage or their rent, their light bill, their car insurance, and the list goes on. And then it's, well, how much do I have left to put food on the table and to put gas in the car? And it's like, no. Let's move putting food on the table up in the budget, just like we would list any other bill. And then when you're trying to decide, okay, but what's the number? We have a food number calculator that'll help you to at least put in some immediate guardrails, and then you can adjust from there. You can kind of track for a little while. How am I doing with this? Is it too much? Do I always have access not access, excess.
Excess?
Yeah, I don't know why I can't get that word out.
Excess?
Yeah. Do I always have too much? Or do I find that, I never have enough? And then you can adjust from there. And then one other thing that I would encourage our listeners to be thinking about when putting together like a budget for putting food on the table is your grocery budget should be for food only. I have a completely separate line item for toiletries and all the things that I need around the house, cleaning supplies and all that. Putting food on the table is about actually going to the grocery store to buy food. I know you're going to pick up a bunch of other stuff there, but I would encourage you to have a separate line item for that.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And so if you're looking for access to the food number calculator, come join the New Money Habits community. The link is in the description. And remember that you can join the community for free. You can also become a member for as little as $5 a month. And if you want access to things like group coaching, you can always upgrade your membership. So come check us out at the New Money Habits community. Again, the link is in the description. Maria, I want to thank you so much for being back with us. It is, like I said earlier, been too long.
I appreciate you having me back. Looking forward to next week.
All right. That does it for this episode of the New Money Habits podcast. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure to hit us up on social at New Money Habits and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review to help us spread this message of hope to people looking for a better plan for their money.